What is copywriting? Interestingly enough, and simple enough, we describe it as copywriting is nothing more than persuasion through the written word. All problems can be solved by writing a great sales letter. That is an old quote from one of the legends of copywriting, Gary Halbert, who said, every business problem can be solved by writing a great sales letter. It was this idea that if you know how to do copywriting, then you are literally one email away from money showing up in your bank account. Like, you can pull up your computer, type out, compelling copy, write a sales letter or an email, write it out, and have a link where people can pay and deposit money into your bank account. And that is really empowering, right? That the idea of just being like, I am one email away from money showing up in my bank account. I could be anywhere in the world. And if I have the skill of copywriting, you don't even have to have a product created. You don't even have to have a service together. You don't even have to have a website. You don't have to have anything. If you can market an idea and you can articulate it with the right words in the right order, in the right sequence, you can type it out, hit send, and money would theoretically show up in your bank account. Now, I don't necessarily think or want to promote that it is that easy, but in some ways it's not that different from that. And one of the beautiful things about humans is that at an individual level, we are all very, very different. But at a high level, we are all very much the same. And our behavior is fairly predictable. The emotions that we have are all, pretty consistent across the different human experience. In Podcast Power and Keynote Craft, we talk about the 7 fundamental human emotions, and how really there's every emotion we experience is really just a mixing and a shading of the 7 fundamental ones. And so when you look at moving somebody to action, which I think I also find this ironic about my career, that I spent the first part of my career solving the problem of procrastination, which is trying to get people to do things they don't want to do. And now, even in marketing, I think of it, it's actually the same way. You're doing the same thing. You're trying to get someone to take action against their sort of natural resistance. And so when I look at my experience going door to door as a salesperson, and you're trying to persuade people to take action, whether it's my experience in the World Championship of Public Speaking and, my career as a stage presenter, that's like trying to move an audience to action. As an entrepreneur or a leader, I'm constantly trying to get our team and people move into action. And as a marketer, you're trying to get people to move to action. And so I think really my whole career is about studying the psychology of what causes people to move to action and how do you sort of use that for good. And that's what we're going to talk about here. And this is so fun because this is one of those areas where I feel like in many ways I've spent my entire career learning, and I have spent thousands of dollars on courses that took hours and hours and hours to go through. Just my journey as an actual writer in the editing process of writing books has been a lot amount of time. And what we've been able to do is take all of that and put it together into this framework and this formula that we call the 15 Ps. And so many of the things that we teach at Brand Builders, it just seems like a lot of the world, it takes a long time to just kind of get to the point of what really do you need to know? What's the essential information here to move people to action? And the 15 Ps is some people make their entire professional journey and career is just this one skill of copywriting. And it is really huge. And it's going to apply beyond copywriting. A lot of this psychology would also apply to just human communication and human interaction, the human experience. It's going to also apply to video production. It's also going to apply to speaking, but we're talking specifically here about the journey of copywriting. What is copywriting? Interestingly enough, and simple enough, we describe it as copywriting is nothing more than persuasion through the written word. That's it. Persuasion through the written word. It's not conversational back and forth per se, but that's what it is. Effective copy moves people emotionally. This is the journey of our content. When we talk about your delivery as a speaker or as a host in the experience you're trying to create as a podcast host and podcast power, when we talk about what you're doing as a writer in captivating content, we talk about moving people emotionally. That ultimately is what we are doing. I just interviewed somebody yesterday for the Influential Personal Brand podcast who's a TV producer, produces reality shows, and that episode will be out here. Her name's Kristen Gisa. It'll be out here in a few weeks. And we were talking about TV, and essentially her whole thing boiled down to what makes great TV, moving people emotionally. That is art. I think that's what art is. Art is anything that somebody interacts with that causes them to be moved emotionally, to have an emotional response, an emotional experience. Copywriting needs to do that. That's how you move people to action. You move people to action by moving them emotionally, and that's what you need to learn to do with the written word.